Hey everyone, it's Karen with Yes Please PaperCrafts, and today I'm in my craft room and I'm ready to get started on a new project for 2021 where I'm going to take this 12 by 12 paper pad and completely tear it apart and try to use it up by making base pages for scrapbooking and also embellishments to go onto those base pages. And so I did a similar project back in 2020 and I worked on that off and on for 6 months, and it was a little bit more of a challenge than I thought it was going to be, and I did struggle a little bit, but I did learn a lot from that process. And so I thought it would be fun to do it again, and this time share it with you, how I go about the process of doing this and taking this paper pad and using all of the papers in it to create scrapbooking base pages and embellishments. Now, I haven't completed the project for 2020. I'm still working on embellishments. I have a few scraps left, but I wanted to wait until I completely finished that project before I did a share of the embellishments that I made. And today I kind of felt like doing something just relaxing, and I just love playing with paper. So I thought, well, it would be fun to go ahead and tear this paper pad apart and start working on this paper pad for 2021. So if you have this paper pad and you want to follow along, feel free to do that. And if you don't have this paper pad, you could just use any paper pad that's in your stash. But be sure to look for one that has cut aparts and maybe has things that you could fussy cut or things that you could punch out. So things that you could use to make embellishments. Also look for papers in the paper pad that are more neutral that you could use as backgrounds. So you want to try to find a paper pad that has a lot of variety and doesn't have too many patterns. And so you can see here I have some busy patterns, but there's also papers like this which are tone on tone. They almost read as a solid, and so you can definitely use something like that as a background. Okay, so I want to go ahead and get started. I'm super excited. So this paper pad is from Craft Smart, and it's called Floral Romance. It was a hot buy paper pad at Michael's, and my sister gifted this to me last year for Christmas, and I think it's super pretty. I just really loved it. So I wanted to do something special, and I'm going to create an album using everything that's in this paper pad, and so I thought it would be really fun to do that with this gift. Okay, so we're going to get started, and what I'm going to do is as I go through and tear each paper out, we'll talk about what kinds of things we could do with those papers, and just to kind of get an idea of how you would go about figuring out which papers to use for what part of the project. Okay, so this paper is an overall design. You could use this as a strip on a base page, but you could also punch out these little images. They might be a little bit small to fussy cut. I'm not sure I would attempt that because that's kind of tiny, but you could try. Those are a little bit small, but if there's enough space, blank space around an image like that, you can use a circle punch or a shaped punch and try to punch out some of those, and that would make really cute embellishments. Okay, so this next one is a tone on tone pink paper. This would be perfect for a background or to map photos. And I really love that they had a lot of papers like this in this paper pad. Okay, and then we have this paper here. Now, I definitely decided that I wanted to use one of these papers as a background for a layout. Now, I have no idea how I'm going to turn this into a layout. I'll figure that out later, but I'm going to save one of these for a background, and then the other one I'm going to use as a mat behind another layout. I might actually even gut out the inside and see if I could fussy cut, or maybe like the butterflies and things to use on other layouts. But you can see here, if I take this paper and I just matted, you would be able to see the gold in the corner and as well as this pattern. I think that would be really pretty if I used this paper as a mat to go behind one of my layouts or base pages. If I say layouts, I really mean base pages. And if you're not familiar with base pages, I will put a link in the description below to the video that I first watched where I learned about base pages. And that's RTS Scrapbooking with Janet. And I'll also link Janet's channel and her Patreon. But base pages are nothing more than a foundation page for a scrapbook layout. And when you create a base page, you just lay out the design of it with some papers and maybe put a couple photo mats and maybe a border strip, and then you just can save it. And when you have some time and you want to do a quick layout, you can just go through your base pages and find one to work from and then just do a really quick layout. So I think it speeds up the process of scrapbooking, because when you're building the base pages, it's kind of like an assembly line where you're doing kind of similar steps. And anything you can do in an assembly line is always going to be faster. At least that's what I find. Okay, so here's another one that could be used as a background or as a border strip. We could use some border punches and punch out some really pretty borders. And once I get all these papers torn out of here, I'm also going to go ahead and start figuring out what papers I can use together, and we'll start kind of planning out the base pages that we're going to be doing, and also make sure that we have a stack of things that we want to cut apart. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you everything in the paper pad, talk a little bit about the papers, and then I will go through selecting some of the papers into kind of little separate kits that I can start working from, and then separate all the embellishments out so I'll have something to do some fussy cutting and cut out later. And then once I have kind of that prep work done, I'll come back and we'll start building the base pages. Okay, so this is a really pretty paper with some gold foiling, and that could also just be used as a mat behind another layout. It'd be really pretty to have that gold just peeking out from behind the edge. You could use it to mat photos and just as a layer. And here's another one that could be used for a background. You know, it's really funny. I did my project share where I shared my other project from last year. And in my title, I said tearing down, you know, a 12 by 12 paper pad. And this is my project share of what I did. People were disappointed because they said I didn't tear down the paper pad in the actual video. So for you guys who wanted to see the paper pad being torn apart, this is for you. Okay, so here's another one that you could use. Probably these are a little bit bigger images than the first one that we saw. We could definitely fussy cut out some of these. And then also you could use strips of this paper as layers in your scrapbook, in your base page. Okay, I have an idea for this particular paper. I'm not sure if it's going to work or not, but I did think about possibly punching some of these out, because I have a hard time going around something like that, and I thought it would be super fun if I had a punch that would actually fit the shape of that. And so I did have a scallop punch right here, and I think it might be a little bit too small, but let's give it a try and just see what kind of a shape we would get out of this, because it might be really pretty. Okay, so I think that might actually work. I did do a, you know, there's just the one on the edge there. I'll have to see if I can get in the middle here. Let's just try it, because I was kind of curious when I was looking through the video to see if I could maybe try cutting out, let's see, because we also have these little ones here. You could actually use a punch to cut that out as well, possibly. It's really going to depend on whether or not I have one that's the right size. So I'm just going to cut that away enough to where I can put this punch in there. And let's see what this looks like when I do a full one here. See, it does actually cover the entire one. And we're going to chop off some of it, but it might still look really cute. So let me just go ahead and center this up here. Trying to figure out where the actual center of it is. Maybe right there. Okay, so yeah, definitely I could do some embellishments using this paper. And the other thing I thought about doing was possibly, instead of using the scallop punch, because the scallop is not really following that dually shape, I could just possibly use a circle punch instead, and possibly do some embellishments that way as well. So we could do something like this, and that would be super cute as a layer. These would be really good as foundations for clusters on your scrapbook layout. And so I definitely think I'll probably use part of this paper to cut some or punch out some shapes. You could also fussy cut this out, but I don't think I'm going to attempt fussy cutting it. Now, I know that there's 2 sheets of this paper in this color, and then there's also 2 sheets in another color. So I'll probably maybe use half of the sheet for the little embellishments, and then I'll use the rest of it just as layers and to matte photos and different things like that. I could even use that as a background because it is neutral enough. It's like a tone-on-tone color, so it possibly could be used as a background. Okay, so this next one is a cut apart. And so what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to set it aside, and I'm going to put these over there where I watch TV in my living room. And when I'm watching TV, I will go ahead and cut all of these apart and do some fussy cutting with this paper. I love fussy cutting. It's really fun. I think it's relaxing. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I really do. Okay, this would make a really good background or mat for pictures. Okay, so this one here, I'm definitely going to be fussy cutting this out. And there's two of these papers. And I think even though there's two papers, I think I would go ahead and use both of these and fussy cut these butterflies, because there's really not that many. They're really large butterflies. So I think once I get these cut out, I'm not going to have that many, and I'll have lots of layouts. When I did my project for 2020 with the other paper pad, I think I ended up with 20 base pages. So I think that wouldn't be too many butterflies. And if I had any left over, I could always use them on another project. So that'll go over there in my fussy cutting pile. Okay, here's another one that could be used as a background or match for photos. Okay, then we have this paper here. I don't think I would fussy cut this out just because it's very small images, but definitely could be used to layer behind things. Okay, over here's another one that I would probably use as a background. So I think I will use one of these as a background, and I will do the other one kind of like I talked about with the this other one that had all the foiling. I'll probably do something similar where I take this one and I gut the middle of it and then use the outside frame as a mat behind a layout. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do here is maybe I should make another pile for backgrounds that I know for sure are going to be backgrounds. So these two for sure will be backgrounds. I'm just going to set those over there. Okay, this is another paper that will just be used as an accent behind things or as layers. Okay, now this one is one of my favorite papers in this whole paper pad. It's gorgeous. It's got foiling as well. And I love all of these border strips. And one of the things that's funny though is that when you look at this, you might think you're going to use all of these as border strips. But I look at it and think I might cut out all these butterflies. I might also cut apart these words because it's kind of fun to have words that you can kind of tuck into clusters. Might even possibly try to see if there's enough space between these flowers that I could use one of my shape punches and punch those out. And then definitely going to fussy cut out this border with those scallops because that would be really pretty. So I think there's a lot that you can do with this particular page, and there's two of them. Isn't that awesome? I love that. So that's going to go in my fussy cutting pile over here. Okay, the next thing we have is another paper is tone on tone that could be used as a background or as mats or as layers. Those are very versatile. I love this paper pad just because it has so many papers like this in it. So there's busy papers, but there's also really subtle papers that are really good for backgrounds and just matting. I probably will bring in some cardstock to go along with this, just because I like working with cardstock, but you wouldn't necessarily have to do that. But I do think it stretches this a little bit further if I maybe bring in like 5 or 6 pieces of cardstock. I'll probably maybe bring in a light pink and possibly a light blue or maybe a green and definitely like an off-white. And that would be really pretty. Okay, so here's another one I'll probably use as a background. So we're going to put that over there. And this one I'll probably use as a mat, or maybe I might use it as another background and maybe fussy cut around here. If I'm brave, I might try that. I always see people doing that. And I really do think I could probably fussy cut around it if I left a little bit of the green as a border. And then it would be super pretty to use on a layout. Okay, here's another tone on tone paper in green. Yeah, so if y'all don't have this paper pad, but you want to try this project, just make sure when you're looking at your paper pads to try to find one that has some more neutral papers in it, because it does make it a little bit easier to build your base pages if not every paper is busy. Okay, so then I have some more cut aparts, and with this one here, I will probably use these 4 cut aparts as they are, and then the other ones here, I might try to do some extra cutting. Like I might try to cut out this saying right here, and then I'll fussy cut around the girl. I'll fussy cut around the butterflies. And so that way you don't have to use this twice, because it kind of looks strange if you have scrapbooking layouts and they're going together in the same album and you have this big huge cut apart on 2 different layouts. I just think it would be better to have maybe the flowers cut out and use the words separately. And that way the album looks like it's, you know, kind of goes together. You can tell it all came from the same paper pad, but you're not using that exact same image. Okay, here's another one with some florals. That was going to fall off the table. All right, and another tone on tone. I love this paper. This is gorgeous. Love the color of that. Might have to see if I can find some cardstock in that color. Okay, and then we have this paper with the butterflies and the flowers, and I definitely could try to cut apart some of that, do some fussy cutting. So I might take one of these papers and try to see if I can fussy cut some of that out. This other one I'm going to put here, and then I think I'm going to put one of these paper over here. I'm going to punch shapes out of here. I might even try to punch shapes out of this one, because there is a lot of empty space around the different images. And so let me see if I grab a hole punch, not a hole punch, a circle punch here. If we can just find something. I would need a slightly smaller punch, but you can see if you can figure out a way to use a punch in the right size, then you could definitely, you know, get these images off of there without doing any fussy cutting at all. And one of the other punches I had over here was this little stamp punch. This came from Stampin' Up! And it makes it look like a postage stamp, and these are really cute. So if you could figure out a way to just get something in there and make it look right. I always struggle a little bit with it, because you want to make sure you capture the whole image, but then maybe you want to, you don't want to have too much of the other stuff around it. So it looks more intentional. And the other thing we could do is, like, let me go ahead and do this one right here. Okay, so I went ahead and punched that out. I think it looks really cute as it is, and I could put something behind it. But even if you have a little bit of the image showing, you could just tuck this under something in a cluster, and it would be super cute. I love the little edge that it makes. It makes it look like a postage stamp. And so I might do some of those, maybe some circles. And so if you have punches, it's another really good way to make embellishments, especially if you don't like fussy cutting. I know a lot of people out there don't like it, but that's one of the things I really love. So I'm going to put one of these over here in my fussy cutting pile. I'll put this one over there as well. So I have a ton of paper here that I'm going to try to use to make embellishments. And that was one of the other reasons why I picked this particular paper pad, is look at all the cool, awesome things I'm going to be able to have to try to make embellishments to go on my scrapbook layouts once I start building my layouts from the base pages. Okay, so I think I missed a couple of papers there that I wanted to fussy cut or punch out. So let me just go back here, and I think I will separate these into the busy patterns. I don't think I'm going to fussy cut that. Here's some more tone on tone. Okay, this one I think I'm going to use as a background. And then we have tone on tone paper. Okay, this one, I think I'm going to use this as a mat to go behind something. Okay, then we have this tone on tone paper. We have this tone on tone paper. We have one of these that I'm going to do cutouts or punch outs from. I'm going to try to cut out some things or punch out some things from this paper. And then I also have this one here that I'll probably just use for layers. And then we have this paper that's like a tone on tone. I think I'll take this specialty. I only have 2 sheets of specialty paper here. I might bring in some mirror card, and there's a lot of butterflies in this collection, and I have some dies where I could actually die cut some butterflies, possibly using some of the papers, but also using some gold mirror card, and then that would give me even more embellishments that would go really well, and it would add more gold into the layouts. Okay, so here's more tone on tone papers. Okay, this one I'm going to matte layout. And then we have this last paper. I think I could probably try to punch out some of the images here. I would never try to fussy cut this out, but there's so much space around the images. These might actually make really good shapes to punch from. So I'm going to do that. And then I'll just keep one of those as just layers. Okay, so now that we have all this torn down, we have our kind of backgrounds neutral papers. We have a whole bunch of prints that we can use. And then we have, these are going to be papers that we're going to matte a layout. And then I have these papers that are going to be backgrounds for sure. Some of these might be backgrounds as well, and I possibly might bring in some cardstock that I could use for backgrounds just to kind of change it up. I like to vary my layouts for each one, and I tend to scrapbook just one layout at a time, and so I don't really usually do things where I do the same thing over and over. And it's one of the things I like about working from the paper pad is that you have all this paper that coordinates. But there's not enough of it really to do matchy-matchy, and so you kind of have to challenge yourself to use the paper in different ways. Okay, and then I have this whole stack of paper that I'm going to be fussy cutting and punching out. So these will be things that I'm going to punch out, and then I'll have the things that I'm going to fussy cut, like some of the cut aparts. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is go ahead and start selecting papers to go together. And what I like to do with the base pages is I will select several papers, I will start cutting them up, and you're going to have scraps left over. So I will select like maybe 5 or 6 that I know for sure that I want to do. And then after I do those 5 or 6, I will go back with the scraps, and I will start taking the scraps and adding it to whole sheets of paper, and then design something, base pages around those, and then just keep doing that until you run out of paper. And when you start getting down to the little scraps is when you want to start trying to use up some of the little pieces to make things like tags. You can make pocket cards with journaling inserts. There's all kinds of different embellishments that you can make. And I should have my other project finished and that video up before we get to that stage with this particular project. So hopefully that will, I'll have that, I'm not going to promise anything because every time I do that, I always seem like things come up and then I don't have time to work on it. So I'm going to get it up there as soon as I can. I just need to finish working on that and getting all of the different embellishment ideas that I have done. I have to play with them a little bit because I'm trying new things just to kind of challenge myself with creating more embellishments and doing things that are different than what I normally do. Okay, so I'm going to start by taking out the papers that I'm going to use to matte the layouts. And as I look at this paper, I really think that it would be pretty if I were to matte something. And so I might just go ahead and add that in as a matte, because I think one of these as a background would be enough. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put those aside because working with this kind of a background, there's not as much to do with your base pages because, you already have the design. I might add a matte for a photo and, you would add embellishments. This would be a very simple layout to do because it's already kind of got the design built into it. I might actually cut around some of these flowers so I could tuck the photos underneath. So I'll have to kind of play around with that and figure out what I'm going to do with these particular pages. Now this one, I could actually maybe add some paper for this one. But these two, they're a little bit more of a challenge, and I think I'm just going to set those aside and maybe think about what I'm going to do with those. Okay, so I had to stop the video because I got a phone call, And so I decided to take a few minutes after my call was over to look through my stash and see if I could find some cardstock to go with this paper pad. And so I took this one paper from the paper pad, which I thought had a good representation of all of the colors. And I found a couple of different cardstocks here. And I pulled out more than I probably will need. But because I had 2 of these yellow cardstocks and 2 of these blue ones in my stash, I thought I would just go ahead and pull them. Because that way, if I need more, I won't have to be rummaging through there trying to figure out where I got that from. And so I pulled in this yellow cardstock. I thought that went really well with this yellow floral. And then I pulled in this blue cardstock. And I love this light blue color. And I think that's going to be so pretty with these papers that have the blue in them. And then the other paper I have here, I pulled in 3 sheets of this paper. This is paper from Basil, and it's vanilla cardstock. And it was kind of interesting when I was looking at this. It almost looks a little peach, and which kind of surprised me because I thought it would be more of an off-white. And you can see here, I thought it would be more of this kind of a color. And it's really between, it looks more like it's between this peachy color and then this off-white. But it's still a very pretty color of paper, and so I thought it would work really well with this paper pad. And so I pulled in 3 sheets of this because I thought maybe I might be using those as backgrounds. Okay, I also am going to bring in some white, and I got some white scraps here. And I thought I could use these to map pictures and also to possibly make some embellishments. And it was interesting, when I was first looking at this paper pad, I was thinking that it had a off-white base, but if you look at some of the other papers, it almost looks like there are whites in here. But now that I'm looking at it, it almost looks like it's more blue than white. But when I looked at this one, that definitely has white in it. So I think that it will be okay if I bring in the white. And I think the white stands out really well against the different papers here. For some reason, both the white and the off-white go with this paper pad, which is very unusual because usually I tend to lean toward either using all white or using off-white. But in this case, I'm okay with using both. Okay, so the other thing that I did while I was taking my little break, I was playing around with that little punch out that we did, that we used this stamp punch from Stampin' Up. It makes it look like a postage stamp. And so I was playing around with that, and I was looking at it and I was thinking, you really can't see the little design. And I thought, wouldn't it be cute if I could like border it with something? So I went ahead and punched it out again using a punch. So I used this 1-inch square punch, also from Stampin' Up. And then I punched out some another one of these punches with some white cardstock. And I just mounted that little square. Isn't that cute? It looks just like a little postage stamp. See if I can, isn't that just adorable? I just love that. I think that's going to be so cute. And so I can't wait to make a bunch more of these. I think that's going to be adorable. And yeah, I'm going to make a whole bunch of those from the scraps and the leftovers. So that's going to be super cool. So I'm already getting a start on my embellishments, which is super, super good, because the last time I did this project, I wasn't really thinking embellishments, and the thought never crossed my mind until I was almost completely done and I just had a few scraps left. And I couldn't figure out what to do with them, and I was tired of trying to figure out how to make more base pages or cards from those scraps. And then it just dawned on me one day, just recently. I thought, well, I need to have some embellishments to go with all those base pages. Why don't I just take those scraps and turn them into embellishments? And so that's what I ended up doing. But I think it does help to think about the embellishments as we're going through the process at the start of the process, rather than waiting till the very end, because I don't have much left over from that paper pad, and a lot of what I do have is cardstock. And so I might have to bring in some scrap papers from some other places just to try to help me with finishing that scrap paper off. So I don't have much to work with from that. I don't have much left over. Okay, so let's go ahead and get back to picking out our pages here. And what I'm going to do is I want to pull together 2 or 3 papers for each base page that I'm going to create. And I'm going to kind of use that as a starter. It's almost like building page kits, in that we're going to just be picking papers to use for each one of those base pages. And I really like that part of the process. I think it's really fun and relaxing just to play with the paper and kind of see what you can come up with. Okay, so we know for sure that we want to use this one as a mat. And I was thinking that maybe I should start there. These two papers, I think we're going to use as a mat. I think I had 3 papers. Where was the other one? This one here. So we have these 3 papers. So I could be looking, as we're going through the different papers, I might go ahead and look and see if anything catches my eye that might look good with this paper matted behind it. So I'm going to put those right here so that I can still see them. Let's see. I'm going to move this. I have this little tray here that I was going to keep all my embellishments in. And it's just in my way. So I'm going to move it over here. And I believe I got that from Amazon. I had some Project Life cards in it. And I've recently been doing some things with Project Life cards. And I decided to do some organization with those cards. And so I pulled all of the cards out of there. And then I was thinking, wouldn't that be cool to use to put little things in when I'm working on a project? And so I decided to just leave it empty and use it while I'm working. But it was in a place on my table where it was getting in my way. So I'm just going to move over there. Okay, so here are our 3 papers that we're going to look for, possibly another paper to go on top. And I'm just going to go through real quick and just see if anything, and here's the white again. So there is white in this paper pad, which I think is really interesting. It could be a light blue. Let's see. I don't know. It's just if it is a blue, it's a very, very, very pale blue, or it's just a very cool white, and this is a warmer white. So, okay, so we have these papers. Okay, let's see if anything just catches my eye here. I really think that this is a pretty paper, and that I would probably use maybe like half of it. And one of the things that I really like on Janet's channel at RTS Scrapbooking is she has a series where she talks about basic designs. And one of her designs that she talked about that she did a video on was the Happy Horizontal, where basically you just cut a piece of paper in half, and then you can just layer it on top of another paper and then put a border strip here. And I just love doing that. So that's one of my favorite go-to designs. That's what she calls it. I'll try to see if I can find those videos that she created on her YouTube channel, and I'll put a link in the description below. She has a whole bunch of different videos where she talks about these go-to designs. And so I'm going to go ahead and try to do that here as well. And actually, I like this a lot. These 2 papers together are super pretty. And then I could see using something here as a border. So let's see if we can find a 3rd paper that we could use as a border. And I'm thinking something darker like this green would be super pretty. And if you could just imagine, it will be this paper and then maybe a border strip with using a border punch, and then this paper. And so I'm going to call that my first base page. Now, I'm not going to be using all of the paper here for the base page. I'm going to have a lot of scraps left over. And so that's where it comes in, where you have, like, starting out, I'm going to do 5 or 6. And then we'll take what we have left over from that and do this process again. And so that's kind of the process that I go through with trying to do the base pages and using all of the papers from this paper pad. You could also do this process if you had a collection. You don't really have to do it with paper pads. I just like doing it with the paper pad because there's so many papers that, and there's like usually like 48 papers that you have to work with. So, and they're all coordinated and they all go together. Makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so this paper just jumped out at me. I just think it's super pretty. And I think it's too similar to this one though. I was thinking maybe I could use that like to mat, but I just think it doesn't stand out enough against the background there. So let's see what else we have here. We have this blue paper, and there was a paper here. Yeah, this paper here is really pretty, and it's got the blue along the edges. And I'm wondering if I couldn't get away with doing that. Oh my God, that's gorgeous. Woohoo! I'm just excited. Y'all ever get excited about paper? That is so pretty. I just love that. Okay, so we're going to go with these two papers here. And one of the other things I like to do sometimes is I will do like a square design where I just do a square within a square within a square. It's like matting and layers. And I think that makes a really pretty base page. So let me see if I can pick out another paper that would go with those two. And which one should we do? I could go with these two, and I think we could pull in this color, and then maybe, let's see what else we have here. Okay, we have this one, or the darker one here. Okay, so this is where it kind of gets challenging if you have a busy pattern, but you can just use a little bit of it, and so it'll, you know, it'll be better. But I'm thinking maybe I might try to go for one of those specialty papers, like maybe one of these here. Let's see if we can use one of these. That one's so close in color, unless we were to put something in between. I could do this one, but it's almost taking away from these two papers, so I'm not sure I want to do that either. Okay, so what else do we have left? Let's see. We have this paper here. See, the problem I'm having with this is if we use these papers that have all this pattern, and you have all of this pattern going behind it, it kind of gets a little busy. And one of the things I'm realizing with this paper pad is it has a lot of florals and a lot of solid, like tone on tone patterns, but not a lot of other things. So I would like to bring in like a stripe or a polka dot or something else, but this paper pad does not have any of that. So that might be a little bit of a challenge that I was not expecting. But you know, sometimes that happens. Okay, so let's see if we can do this, and maybe instead of this color, let's see if we try this yellow paper. Nope, not feeling that either. I do like these two together though. I really think that this could work, and maybe what I could do is use some white. Let's see. Could I do white? Okay, so I'm a little bit stuck. I think I'm going to look at these cut aparts real quick, these really large ones, to see if that gives me any inspiration, because I could potentially use that here, and that is just gorgeous. Look at that. That's just beautiful. So definitely could pull this in, and I think that's what we're going to do. So I think we're going to pull in one of these here, and I'm going to do some things with matting to put a place for my picture, and then try to figure out a design for this. But I think that using one of these cut aparts on this layout is going to be super pretty. And I think all of the other papers were either too plain or they were competing too much with this awesome matting of the layout. So I think we're going to go with that. So that's going to be number 2. And now I have lost my place of what I'm doing here. Okay, so this is number 1, this is number 2, and I'm going to set these over onto the side. Okay, so let's see what we have. Okay, so let's see what else we have that we can work from. I see right off the bat I have this paper here and then this other floral, and I like these two papers together. Those are really pretty together. And then I could maybe bring in some of this yellow cardstock, and I think that would be super pretty. So sometimes things go together really easily, and then other times it can be a little bit of a challenge, and sometimes I have to step away from things and just think about it a little bit and then come back to it. But I really like this, and so that's going to be number 3. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we also have this really pretty tone-on-tone paper, and I also want to use this matte. So I'd like to find something that I could use this as the matte for the entire layout. And that might be a little bit of a challenge, actually. But let's see what all we can find. How about this one? That might be pretty. It's a darker color, and there's enough of a contrast between that paper and this one. But I'm not really feeling that. But you know what would be super pretty would be this paper. I think these two papers together are gorgeous. I love that. So I definitely think we're going to do that. And then maybe we can take some of the things from this paper. I'm going to gut the inside of this paper, and I'm going to use some of that possibly on here. And then we could maybe pull in some of the cut aparts. But I think that that's really pretty. And let's see what else I have over here that maybe we could pull in. I could do this paper as well. So I really like these three together. So I'm going to put these three, and that's going to be kit number 4. Okay, so I'm still looking for something to go with this. And I'm not sure I'm going to find something because we're getting low on choices here, but I'm going to keep looking and see. Maybe this green one would work. I'm just looking for something with enough contrast that it's going to show that border, and that's super pretty. And we can even make this a little bit smaller so that we could show more of it. Although we're going to run into a problem where we have these words here, so I'm not going to be able to make it too big. But I could possibly, I wonder if I could do something here so that you could see more of that. Oh, you know, it'd be really cool. I could cut around this and tuck the paper in there. That'd be pretty cool. So maybe I might try that. Okay, so I like these two papers together. I like the idea of kind of making this into photo corners. And so I might try to do that. And I think that this paper has enough of a contrast with this one that it's going to stand out. Okay, so let's look for a third paper that we can use for this layout. And I almost want to use some of the border strips. And I think that, I definitely think that using some of the border strips would go really pretty with this layout. I could maybe layer some of the border strips down here and maybe even add some ones that I make using some border punches. That'd be super pretty and very feminine. So I like the idea of doing that. But I'm not really sure I want to put this paper in with this because I won't be able to cut this apart. So maybe what I'll do is write myself a little note. Okay, so sometimes if I have an idea, I like to write a note to myself because my memory's not too good anymore. As I get older, I think that sometimes I could be doing something and 5 seconds later, I forget what it was I was doing. So it's really good if you write things down. And I'm going to just put that this is number 5. I might go ahead and put a piece of this paper like Janet does in between each one of these. So let me go do that real quick before I forget. So we'll just say this is number 4. And that was these 3 papers. Then we had number 3. And this is just some scrap paper I had left over from a project. Number 2, number 1. And I could just go ahead and write any notes that I have on each one of these as I'm working on them. Okay, so that's these 3 papers. That's number 3. These 3 papers is number 2. Yeah, this is number 1. That's number 1. This is number 2. Yes, okay. Okay, so let's do one more, and then I'm going to go ahead and end the video. And then once I have a chance to cut all the papers down and fussy cut everything, I will go ahead and do another video where I start taking each one of these little kits and turning them into base pages. Okay, so let's see what we can do for our last one. Now you might be wondering, you know, looking at this, you might be thinking, well, you're not going to get very many layouts from this paper because we're going through the paper pretty quick. But remember, we're going to be having tons of scraps left over from each one of these base pages that we can use. And so I think with the last paper pad, I ended up with 20 layouts. And that paper pad only had 34 sheets of paper, I think. So I can't remember how many this one has. I'll have to check the front cover and see. I'm trying to remember what all this one had because I don't think that paper was included. And I'm confusing myself. Okay. Oh. Okay, see, I forgot already. I was thinking there's only 2 papers here. I'm missing one. And I have a note to myself and I still forgot. Okay, I'm going to be using border strips to create layers on this layout. So I don't need a 3rd paper. Okay. Just that easy. I forgot. Okay, so let's go ahead and do one more. And I love this blue paper. That's super pretty. And let's see what else we have here that we could use. So we have a lot of tone-on-tone papers. We have this paper here. And then this one with the doilies. Here's another one with doilies. And maybe we might try to use a cardstock as a background for this one. And then just layer some papers. So just recently on one of Janet's Patreon videos, I watched her build a base page using some scraps. And so I might try that. I think it was like one scrap. It was like a big 10 by something going this way. And then some smaller scraps going across this way with banners. And that might be fun to try. And when she did that, I want to say she had like 4 different papers. Now, I might could try that when I get more into having a lot of scraps. But then maybe I won't have scraps large enough. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And I will do, I think I'm going to put these 2 papers together. And then let's take this one. How about these 2 and this one? That'd be pretty. And I also, okay. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is to use some of this specialty paper, use this paper here, and both of those have a lot of black. And I think I'm going to okay, so I think that what I can do is take these papers, use this vanilla cardstock as my background, and then take these papers and layer them using the style of base page that Janet created in her video. And we can create a base page using just big pieces of scraps. And I think that would be a lot of fun because sometimes I get into a rut where I just use the same base pages and the same designs over and over again, like the happy horizontal. I like the grid layout. So sometimes it's good to look at what other people do, and it gives you ideas on what you can create. And also, if you just go out and look at other layouts, you can get inspired by what other people do. And so, yeah, that's what I usually do when I get stuck. And just to kind of make myself think out of the box and out of what I normally typically will do, I do try to look at other people's videos on YouTube and also look at layouts on Facebook and in the different groups. Okay, so I really like this color combination together. I think that's super pretty. And so that's going to be kit number 6. And that's going to be all for this video. So I hope I've inspired you to take one of your paper pads and use it up and create some base pages. And that's all I have for this video. Now I do have a short video clip of my 2 dogs, Bella and LilyBelle, that I'll put at the end. But that's all I have. So y'all take care. Hope y'all have an awesome week, and I will see you next time. Bye now. Miss Bella, what you doing? Can you say hi to the YouTube people? No? You don't want to say hi? No? Hi, LilyBelle. Can you say hi to the YouTube people? No? Y'all are going to be quiet tonight? What you been up to? Have y'all been getting into trouble? You look like you've been getting into trouble. No? No trouble? Hi, sweetie. What you doing? Huh? Mama's got to give y'all a bath tomorrow. Yeah. Y'all need a bath bad. I wasn't giving them a bath because Bella has had medicine in her ears for 2 weeks. She went to the vet twice and they put this stuff in her ears. We had to make sure her ears didn't get wet, and so she has not had a bath. And because she didn't take a bath, I didn't give one to LilyBelle either. They love to take baths, and I didn't want to give one to LilyBelle. LilyBelle looks insulted though. She goes, I could have had a bath. You could have given me a bath. You gonna get a bath tomorrow? I can wash your hair and you'll smell pretty. Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow, okay? Would that be good? Miss Bella, would you like to have a bath tomorrow? I bet you would. You would? You gonna knock the camera right out of my hand? You gonna knock the phone right out of my hand? You got so excited. Yeah. So we're gonna give you baths tomorrow. That's gonna be awesome. I love it when y'all have a bath. Y'all are so cuddly and soft. And you smell good. Bella says, we're cuddly all the time. But you're more cuddly when you don't have yucky medicine in your ears. I know it's not your fault. The vet put that in there. I know. It's not your fault. You're gonna pout. Are you gonna pout? Okay. Would y'all like a treat? I could give you a treat. Would you like one? Is it treat time? Yeah. Yeah, you haven't had a treat since yesterday. I know. All right, well, what kind of treat would you like, Miss Bella? Anything? You're not being picky? No? You just want one? You just want one? Did I make you wait a really long time for your treat today? Yeah, she was whining earlier. And so I decided not to give her a treat until she stopped whining. So she hasn't had one because she's been very whiny today, trying to get me to give her a treat. I don't like to encourage that kind of behavior. Okay, well, let me go get you a treat. I'll be right back. Okay, so I have this special treat jar. I have this treat jar that the girls got for Christmas. My niece and my sister made this for them. And it's got little Yorkies on it, and then their names. And each side has treats for each girl. And you can shake it and let them know when treat time is. So I think it's super cute. And inside of this jar are the little treats that they gave them and their little doggy biscuits. And so we're going to give them a couple of these. So let me go ahead and pause the video so I can get the treats out of the jar. Okay, girls, can you sit? Good job. Okay, I'm going to give y'all a treat. Leave it. Okay. Yummy. I usually give them 2 of these. They haven't had any treats today, so we're going to get 2. Usually I like to have 2 small treats, or I give them a little bit of a larger treat. Okay, you ready? Down. Bella, down. Sit. Good job. Leave it. Okay. Okay, so that's it for treat time. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next time. Bye now.